When Kobe and I decided to create a podcast and coined it the Father Son Podcast, most would feel this is a gimmick for the podcast, and that couldn't be further from the truth. From the day Kobe was born, I introduced him to video games. This was a way of life for me, as I can remember my father buying me the Odyssey home system, where the cellophane field that clung to the TV determined what game you were playing. Kobe's love for video games grew, as did the bond of a father and a son. When I introduced him to online play, his world opened to new heights. He learned quickly that the incredible gaming experience wasn't just something shared between a father and a son, but there was an entire world that shared his passion for gaming. Gaming was just part of his upbringing, as school or sports was. We always made arrangements that a video game experience was just an arm's length away, even when we went on vacation. As Kobe got older, our experience took us to the road, experiencing events like the Great E3 to more modern events like Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Experience, IGN, and PAX. Kobe graduated from college and now works in the video game industry on the Xbox team. So, as you can see, it was nothing but natural progression to now share our experience and love of the industry through our podcast. Now sit back and enjoy the ride.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Father and Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. My name is Kobe, aka Kobe127. That is Kevin, aka Octane699. I don't know why, but I'm getting your Oak Island ads again on my browser. You need to get that stuff out of here. I don't want to watch it. I know we got some Oak Island fans in the chat, but it's infecting it again. Get it out of here.
Quite all right. They're going to find something tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They'll find another piece of wood. But yeah, happy Monday, all. Welcome, everyone. We are happy to see you once again. Dad, how you doing?
Not too bad. Actually, this weekend, for those of you in the Northeast PA, we got about 10 inches of snow, and I got a lot of gaming done this weekend.
Yeah, what'd you get done?
Just playing more Ghost of Viote.
Yeah,
since nobody wants to play Arc Raiders anymore with me, since I kind of schooled you and Kyle.
Yeah, so the funny thing about that is I did go back and watch that stream, and because you had us convinced you were using the Pharaoh. You were like, I don't know why this gun is single shot. And I went back and I looked, and you had the kettle, and I'm like, I guess you don't realize that you have to quickly tap that right trigger in order to keep shooting the kettle, because when you said it's only one shot and you have to reload or whatever, that's the Pharaoh, where it's a sniper rifle.
The first one I had was that.
But the moment in the stream when you were saying, "Oh, this gun only shoots one bullet," I looked down and you had the kettle.
When we were running through, and there was a little portal that you ran through, and you and Kyle got downed.
Yeah.
When I ran through, I shot, and it came up that I had to push X to reload it.
The first time, because what you're talking about is when Kyle went down, you had the kettle. I saw it on the stream, and it's the air compressed rifle that you have to semi-automatic. You got to keep shooting it. Now, if you had the Pharaoh that was a long rifle, yeah, that is one you have to press X to reload. But kettle's semi-automatic, and it's one of the best weapons in the game.
Regardless, it sucked. I need an automatic.
I mean, with the free loadouts, the only automatic you can get is the Rattler, and that one is not that great. Yeah.
Well,
and the Stitcher's a thing too. The Stitcher's a good SMG. It's automatic.
I wanted to play again because I didn't realize when you got on there, I do have a screen that's split screen so people can watch your gameplay, my gameplay, your face, my face, and we got to get back on the
who wants to see that?
Well, you can see the faces that you're making at me that I can't see, and everybody could see it.
there was a couple faces, especially when you kept falling to your death. I was visibly shocked.
I was doing it for the stream.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that reasoning. Yeah, I got a little bit of gaming done this week, and I actually went back to Baldur's Gate 3. My buddy and I have been having our campaign went on hiatus, but we're finally playing it again. And man, Baldur's Gate 3 is such an incredible RPG. You know, I'm a big D&D fan, so I was always going to love it. But getting back into that game is just so fun to play. And then I was just telling you before this, today I played a game on Steam. It was called And Roger. It's an hour long, and it's a visual novel game. And man, that game gut punched me. It was very sad, and it's written by the heart by people who have definitely experienced this in life with family members or friends. It was a very beautiful, heart-wrenching game. And I played that today, and I was like, damn, I don't know why I played this, because now I'm emotionally wrecked for the rest of the day. But yeah, mainly Baldur's Gate 3 was the big weekend gaming project that I did. So
cool.
Yeah, with all that being said, as always, remember this is the Father and Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. You can follow us on all of our socials right here on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky and Spotify. We're at Active Reload Gaming. Twitch and Twitter or X, we're at Active Rel. That is with an REL, Active Rel Gaming. So go on over, follow us there, support us, so on. Up in the top left corner is our Discord code. Feel free to scan it, join it. Trust us, it goes to the Discord. It's not going to take it anywhere lucrative. So you can get in, scan it, and start chatting with us. We usually post updates about what we're doing, when podcasts are going live, and so on. So feel free, join it. And yeah, Bombay in the chat says, I played snow cleanup this weekend. It was great. So yeah,
it's a new simulator. It's almost a VR simulator.
There probably is a snow shoveling simulator out there on Steam somewhere. I'm actually gonna look that up right now. There's a simulator for.
Yep.
If it was VR, that'd be insane. No, there's Snow Runner. I have seen that game. Snow shoveling. Wow, there is. I do not see a snow shoveling simulator on Steam.
I'll take 2% royalties.
Wait. Here, there's one coming up. It's called Push Comes to Shovel. It's a snowy sim adventure set in the frigid town of Windrow. Become the blizzard wizard you've inspired to be and clean up the town. This looks ridiculous, but it fits into that simulator territory. So for anyone who misses the snow, you can go.
All you gotta do is pay me $40 and you can come do it for free. My house. That's fine.
Pay you $40 to come do it.
Well, they'd pay a game $40 for a game to simulate it. They can get it done here for $40.
Man, you're a cheapskate. Your people are paying you to shovel your stuff. That's crazy.
They're paying money to do it in the game.
Yeah, but that's a game. You get achievements for that. So
I'll give you an achievement.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get a nice custom made trophy for them. But
there you go.
That being said, today's topic for the podcast, we've been hemming and hawing going into this one, be like, what do we want to do? And a lot of news broke over this last week / weekend about Bethesda Game Studios. And Bethesda Game Studios is one of our favorite studios. We love all their titles. But, there's a lot going on at Bethesda that warrants a full podcast, because there's a lot of news. And I'm curious because, Fallout has always been your self-claimed second favorite franchise. I love the Elder Scrolls, and then there's Starfield. There's a whole bunch of stuff that Bethesda does. But yeah, there's a lot going on that I did not anticipate to see, and I find it all very interesting. Yeah, like we said, this is what is going on at Bethesda Game Studios, and I think the perfect place to start is Elder Scrolls and the lore master of Elder Scrolls, who left the company a little bit ago, and it wasn't known until now. So I'm going to pull this from PC Gamer. This is written by Samuel Horty. The title of this article states Bethesda's former Elder Scrolls lore master on why he left, Starfield's communication breakdowns, and how the lore master wanted Elder Scrolls 6 to essentially be the Empire Strikes Back of the Elder Scrolls world. Kurt Coleman, the longtime Elder Scrolls lore master, hasn't revealed why he left Bethesda in 2023 after more than 20 years until now. His departure didn't make headlines, but it rumbled those who know the series best. Michael Kirkbride, who worked alongside Coleman on Morrowind and Oblivion, wrote at the time that Kurt was the best writer that the Elder Scrolls ever had. His leaving will be the creative detriment of the series. It was also almost certainly time for a change. Coleman, who now works at the Tencent-owned studio Lightspeed LA, tells me there were some things that had been going on for a long time that I had not been super happy with. Some were an inevitable result of Bethesda's boom years, with hundreds of developers across multiple studios making Starfield. Communication sometimes broke down, and devs felt disconnected from senior management. But there's another reason, and it's linked to a promise Todd Howard made to him about The Elder Scrolls 6, a promise he said that was never fulfilled. Coleman's tenure at Bethesda was split in two. As a junior designer in 96 and 97, he worked on Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, The Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, and pre-production of Morrowind. He returned in 2003 and was involved in every major Bethesda game after that point, including as co-lead designer on Skyrim and as lead systems designer on Starfield. He became the Elder Scrolls lore master because of his longevity at the studio and his shaping of Tamriel's history. When ZeniMax Online Studios began making ESO, Coleman was assigned to field lore questions. Over this two-decade second run, Bethesda ballooned and its culture changed, he says, particularly after Skyrim, which released in 2011. In the early days, it was a close group of devs, including Todd Howard, in a basement office making decisions and eating in the canteen together, he says. But new offices opened and other studios were folded by owner ZeniMax Media, including Battlecry Studios and Escalation Studios. ZeniMax was later bought in 2021 by Microsoft. By the time Starfield shipped in 2023, it's 4 remote studios all working together on a game, Coleman says. When you get to that size, you can't have people just popping into Todd Howard's office to chat about a design point. He's not having lunch with everybody. He's very different when it's 400 people, 4 studios, big businesses, and Microsoft now involved. Size brought problems. Decisions that on Oblivion would have been made on the spot after a face-to-face conversation were instead filtered through layers of management. He also describes communication breakdowns during Starfield's development where teams didn't understand what they were supposed to be doing. Or, there would be people talking to the leads in one studio and getting an answer, and people talking to leads in the other studio and getting maybe a different answer. Bethesda's growth and the problems that came with it were slow rolling change, he says, and predated Microsoft's acquisition. And these changes sound as if they were exemplified by how Howard's role shifted. There's a lot more going on here, but essentially Howard verbally promised him the lead design role in Elder Scrolls 6, which was supposed to be the next project after Fallout 4. Of course, after Fallout 4, we didn't go to Elder Scrolls 6. We made Fallout 76, and then we didn't make Elder Scrolls 6. We made Starfield, which became this extremely long project compared to other ones. So from my point of view, I've been waiting like 11 years to be the lead on Elder Scrolls 6. He remembers that being a tough conversation and that Bethesda's leadership hoped he'd be happy with a different position and so on. There's a lot more here in the article. But he also stated that in his mind, Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be like The Empire Strikes Back. The Talmor, the elven supremacists who were peripheral in the Skyrim story and ultimately wanted to control all of Tamriel, would be the bad guys who came out on top, setting up the Elder Scrolls 7, which would in turn set a 2-part game. So there's a lot in this article to go on, and I'm curious to hear your positioning. First off, I can kind of see what he says. Starfield came out, and it definitely had a controversial reception. It was kind of split down the middle, and I think you can kind of tell. I like Starfield for what it was, but you can definitely tell it was behind on the times in terms of just RPGs all around. And Bethesda wasn't the innovators like they used to be, especially in the Xbox 360 PS3 era with Fallout 3 and Skyrim. All that being said, let's start at the top, which is, do you think moving the Elder Scrolls 6 after... It was essentially supposed to be after Fallout 4, but shifting it way down the pipeline. Elder Scrolls is Bethesda's, it's their bread and butter. It's what they're known for. Do you think that was a detriment to the studio?
I do, but I think for this podcast, after what you just said, let me just take a step back to get the timelines in place here. You got to remember, and I'm going to start just Fallout. Fallout was 2000. Fallout 3 was 2008. I'll go back before Bethesda, just so you're aware. Fallout 1 was 1997. Fallout 2 was 1998. Then when Bethesda bought the franchise rights, Fallout 3 was 2008.
Well, you also got to remember Oblivion was 2006. So a year before that was Oblivion, then Fallout 3.
Then Fallout 3, then Fallout 10, New Vegas was 2010. Skyrim was 2011. Elder Scrolls Online was 2014. Fallout 4 was 2015. Fallout 76 was 2018, and then you jump to Starfield 2023. So I think you need to understand that timeline. Now I'll come back and answer. To me, I think one of the main reasons why you saw Elder Scrolls get pushed 6 is because I don't think they when I say they, it's going to be Microsoft. I don't think anybody saw the Fallout TV series.
Well, I think that, hang on, I'm going to stop you right here because you got to remember Elder Scrolls 6 was announced in 2018. Microsoft didn't buy Bethesda until 2021.
2021, correct.
So, and the Fallout TV show, let's just pull that up. That didn't come out, season 1 didn't come out until 2024. So, but even Starfield and it was all this way before that. So let's just, I'm going to say, continue what you're going to say, but it might be a little wrong.
But I don't think that it is, because I think that they were working on Elder Scrolls 6. They had Starfield in there that they were working on, because way before, I can't even remember how far back I remember them touting their new IP. This was the new IP that they were touting. Then when I'm saying they were working on Elder Scrolls 6, then COVID hit, and then you had Microsoft buying them out. Then you had them pushing for the new IP. I think that was something that Microsoft, my opinion, and Elder Scrolls was being worked on, but it kept getting shelved, in my opinion.
I think you hang on. I think your timelines are a little wrong here, and I will, because you're saying so. Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 got announced at the same time. They got announced the same year that Fallout 76 was shown off. So Fallout 4 coming out in 2015. Elder Scrolls 6 was supposed to be right after that. This predates Microsoft by a bunch. So I think first off, we have to analyze, why did Bethesda Game Studios even shift to Fallout 76 over Elder Scrolls 6 to begin with? Then why would they shift to Starfield as well before Elder Scrolls 6?
Okay, and then I'll go back to there, but I still think what I'm saying and the point I'm getting to is right. But why they shipped Fallout 76 is because everybody, you got to go back in that time, everybody wanted that pay-to-play model. Everybody needed those microtransactions. Everybody was trying to get something out with that microtransaction. That's why they pushed that MMO forward in front of it, because that to me is again, I'm air quoting this, the ongoing money machine, where a standalone game coming out, you pay for it, it's once and done, and then you do some updates or some DLCs along the way. They needed that, so that was pushed in front. Getting back to my point, I still think they were working on Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. Then once COVID hit, that pushed everybody's timeline weird. And then when Microsoft bought them out, in my opinion, they took a look and said, "Look, we want to prioritize new IP." We just spent 7.5 billion, 8.1 if I remember, after everything was said. We want to push new IP, and that's where I think Elder Scrolls 6 got pushed back again. Then again, when they started to work on it again, the Fallout series hit. Didn't expect it to hit that big, and I think Microsoft once again stepped in and said, "Look, this whole TV series is hitting hard, and we have no Fallout product," because you saw Fallout 76 player base rise through the roof like you've never seen it before after that, which again proved to Microsoft, who at the end of the day is pulling the strings, proved to Microsoft that we need Fallout product.
Well, I want to put a pin on Fallout, because we're going to get to Fallout a little bit later, especially with all the Steam funkiness. But I'm looking here. So Starfield's active development began in late 2015, as soon as Bethesda finished Fallout 4. So like, to me, I just find it crazy, because Elder Scrolls is what made Bethesda. And I would say, in terms of hype levels of games coming out, Elder Scrolls 6 is in the top 3. It's not number 1, but I think it's one of the games that people clamor for the most. And I think them announcing it in 2018, I think someone said it as well. They announced it just to kind of get the fandom to kind of stop asking about it. So I, I think pivoting to Starfield was an interesting decision when your entire fan base was clearly asking for Elder Scrolls. So I guess my question to you is, do you think that Starfield should have been put on the back burner? Elder Scrolls 6 should have came first.
Again, from my opinion, yes, they should have put Elder Scrolls first. But again, my opinion, I think after Microsoft dropped the billions, they said we need new IP now.
Okay, but I still think you're getting confused. Like 2021 is when Starfield was already said and done, well into production. I don't think, I work for Xbox opinions. Like my opinions don't match what the employer, et cetera. Like I think Microsoft didn't really have that much of a stay in Starfield because Starfield was already essentially 2 years from release at that point from when the acquisition happened. That game was well in gestation period from Bethesda Game Studios. I don't think Microsoft's like, we need to push the new IP because Starfield was already nearing the end of its development cycle for that game.
I'll buy into that. So could it be the syndrome? Because I read about this a lot, and I really read about it in Epic. That's why they started to do Fortnite over Gears, where people, when they're in it 10, 12 years of producing the same game, they kind of get game fatigue. So could it have been that you're within Bethesda Studios that they were Elder Scrolled out and were more excited about pushing this new IP, i.e. Starfield, out?
I mean, I definitely think that could be a possibility that they want to expand on what they want to do. Now, the other thing is maybe they're waiting for technology to arise for what they envision for Elder Scrolls 6, which that's a whole nother thing that we need to get into, which is the creation engine of it all, because I think that is where people still get held up with a lot of these games. And I think, we've been seeing a lot of chatter online about Bethesda Game Studios and the games themselves. A lot of revisionism in history has been happening where people are revising how people feel about the earlier Fallouts, Fallout 4, et cetera. So, we're going to exclude Starfield from this conversation, but have you been seeing a lot of people online have been claiming that Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Skyrim weren't even great games? Like they were just fine or okay at best.
Yeah, I have been seeing that. And I think that, again, I tried to go back and play Fallout 3, and it doesn't hold up. But when that came out, it was an outstanding game. Nobody can say that it won't. There was so much clamoring about Fallout 3. And then New Vegas. Like, come on, they all start saying New Vegas was, better than Fallout 3, and they should give I remember it vividly. They should give the IP over to Obsidian and let them take over the Fallout franchise. But to tell me that Fallout 3 and New Vegas weren't outstanding games when they came out, give me a break. Now,
I mean, even if you play them on PC, you can mod them, and I still think they're New Vegas. I still think is one of the best writing in the series and one of the best writing in games. I love those quests.
But even if you again take a look at an open world and are they comparing it to a cyberpunk of today? Then of course it's not going to look and play as well. But nobody can say that's what's Fallout 3 set the wheels in motion of the Fallout fanaticism. Like, come on, how can you sit there and say now, if it's a brand new person that's just getting into gaming or a younger generation that never played something like Cyberpunk or things of that nature, and then jump back and tried to play Fallout 3, I can definitely see where they would say this game is no good. I can see that because it's rough. I went back to play it. The controls are clunky. Obviously, the graphics are really, really tough. Everything is that dark green hue that made Fallout what it was, yeah. But it's tough to play nowadays. So again, I would like to analyze who's saying it. If it's my generation, your generation that grew up playing it, and that was your first introduction to Fallout, then I'd say you're crazy. If
Yeah,
it's somebody that never played it, then I can understand where that statement's coming from.
I also want to kind of looping back to Elder Scrolls 6. I think Bombay put something a little bit interesting in the chat, which is what if Elder Scrolls 6 became Starfield, kind of like how Resident Evil 4 actually became Devil May Cry. Like a lot of the mechanics that they were working on for Elder Scrolls 6 ended up just being Starfield mechanics. I mean, I think that's true for a lot of game development. That a lot of things that people work on end up becoming something else entirely. Projects change all the time. You can even see like canceled projects from developers and have like features carry over to another title that they're making. So I think there could be some truth to that, but I don't know. But that being said, the one thing that the article points out is whoever was calling the shots, though, essentially in the grand scheme of Bethesda Game Studios, missed two calls in a row with the release of Fallout 76 and Starfield, because we all know how Fallout 76 launched. It wasn't the game that it is today. And Starfield, for a Bethesda Game Studios game where they were lauded as one of the best RPG makers in the business, where they, you know, innovated the genres greatly and pretty much set what a Western RPG could be. Starfield isn't what it was supposed to be. And that also dampened a lot of the goodwill that people have with Bethesda Game Studios. So there is a lot of pressure now that is put on the Elder Scrolls 6. And, you know, and we get into the creation engine of it all, and I want to pull this in, which is, if the Fallout London lead is really worried Fallout 5, and we can also put Elder Scrolls 6 is going to use Bethesda's proprietary creation engine. Fallout London project, and this is written by Scott McCrae from Games Radar. Fallout London project lead Dean Carter hopes that Bethesda will either have given up or overhauled the creation engine by the time Fallout 5 comes out. If you look at BGS's history, its games all have engine similarities going back to 2003's Morrowind. Carter was asked by esports.net if there are any mechanics or tools from Fallout London he'd like to see Bethesda take on for a potential Fallout 5. But before answering the question, he responded, "I'm really worried that they're going to keep going with the creation engine. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of pluses to it. I'm not just someone that's going to sit there and lie and say it's a terrible engine. It could be better, yes, but it's not a bad engine. But I do think it's starting to show its age. It needs to be overhauled somewhat." So that's where I'm going to kind of end that article here. And I think the engine is where it is dampening a lot of the games of Bethesda's games today, because when you look at other RPGs that have come out since, Skyrim, like Witcher 3 came out, that set the precedent for a lot of Western RPGs. Then you have the Cyberpunks, and you have Baldur's Gate. Like, these companies are making leaps and bounds over what Bethesda used to do. So there is a lot of different pillars we can cross. So where do you want to go?
Here's my opinion on it. And you and I have talked about this. And again, I know, your opinion doesn't represent Microsoft, but Microsoft owns all these companies. What they need to do, if they want to truly put games out, they need to force these companies. They bought these companies for billions of dollars, and they let them run still kind of independent. They need to force them all. And I don't care. Pick Unity, pick Unreal Engine 5. I don't care what it is. I would like to see Unreal Engine 5 because you have studios that are within, i.e. the coalition, that's a master of Unreal Engine. This way you can pull people, resources from other studios to help expedite these long periods of creating them. Now, when I say that, I take back and take a look at, Activision. If it's somebody like Call of Duty, I wouldn't force it. They know how to put out a game every year.
Well, I was actually just going to say that to your point. I think a good example, to whatever degree that it may be, a good example of a unified engine and putting out games is Call of Duty, where essentially the way that Call of Duty's whole development pipeline has always been, which is you have your three studios working on games, but they had like a research team that was off in the mountains that was essentially creating the next and parts, the engines, and updating it. And that's why, like, in chunks of time, all the Call of Duties kind of looked and felt the same, because the developers got the newest part, like newest edition of the engine. They would craft their games. And that's why you always had the consistent flow of Call of Duties coming in, because they were all unified around one thing, whereas another team was off in the Himalayas crafting the next engine. I think that is.
I wouldn't I wouldn't change that. But exactly what you just said, you can take their other studios and do the same thing around, UE5, and you wouldn't have these long periods. You wouldn't have this conversation about Elder Scrolls 6 because there could have been assets made from another company during their downtime or during whatever to help put this all together. And I don't care what it is. You could pull, hey, I need somebody for, I don't know, and the MMO aspect of this and pull it from another studio to just purely work on that. That's what needs to happen. Bethesda needs an overhaul. I think they need to take their engine and throw it right out the window.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up. It's not of 2026 standards, and they really need to step in and do something to help expedite this, because you have two of the bigger franchises out there with Fallout and the Elder Scrolls franchise that need to be out. You can't wait till 2028, 2030 for the next iteration of either one of those to come out.
Well, so the funny enough is, pulling from an article from IGN, this is written by Wesley Inpool. So GQ magazine actually interviewed Todd Howard because of all the Fallout TV show season 2 press that's been happening. And Todd Howard in the interview did say the Elder Scrolls 6 wouldn't be out for some time. And he stated that it's still a long way off and he is preaching patience and he doesn't want fans to feel anxious, which also comes up to that this year is the 8-year anniversary of Elder Scrolls 6 being announced. And in the article, it points out that the Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, it became as old as predecessor Skyrim was when the Elder Scrolls 6 was announced. So
that's crazy.
It sounds like from what Todd Howard is saying, Elder Scrolls 6 is still years off at this point. We don't know when we're going to see this game. And also from the lore master, he states, with the whole Empire Strikes Back thing before, it looks like that he doesn't. Bethesda and Todd Howard don't want a game with a bad ending. So it seems like whatever plans that they had for ES6 got completely scrapped and it's just rewritten from the ground up as well.
Sure. So, I read somewhere or heard somebody say that they don't want Elder Scrolls 6 to be left on a cliffhanger because it'll take another 15, 20 years till we get Elder Scrolls 7.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So then, you talk about Fallout. And I do want to loop back to Starfield because it seems like Bethesda is also working on something Starfield related. But I want to loop back to Fallout because you just made an excellent point, which is you can't wait another X amount of years until these new entries. If we go on the traditional Bethesda Game Studios timeline that has been happening, that they only, the entire studio, all the teams only work on one title at a time. We've seen this since Fallout 3. Where Fallout 3 released, then they went off and they were only worked on Skyrim. Skyrim came out. They went off. They only worked on Fallout 4. Then they only had Fallout 76. Then they only had Starfield. So with that being said, say the whole company is only on Elder Scrolls 6 at the moment. Let's just say at earliest we see Elder Scrolls 6 next year. This is all hypothetical. We don't even know if Fallout 5 is in pre-production yet, right? So that could be well into a next generation title. You're looking 2030s at that point. So, which also leads into a Steam glitch, but I want to just, you as a Fallout fan and you as also just business minded, especially with the hype of the Fallout television show that is happening. And it seems like the only content that we are currently getting that has been confirmed is just new Fallout 76 updates, which that speaks to a fandom. Are you even excited, thrilled, or what do you think about the whole state of the Fallout franchise at the moment? Because it really seems like Fallout is just kind of leaning on Hollywood at the moment.
I am frustrated with it. I mean, you want the simple answer? I need more Fallout. I need it. Because again, it showed that after season 1, like they had the biggest 76 Fallout 76, player base on there than they've ever seen. So that just goes to show that there's a need for it. There's a want for it. And that's where I kind of jump in and say, is Microsoft strong arming Bethesda and saying, look, as much as you want Elder Scrolls 6, is there going to be a Fallout 5 before Elder Scrolls 6?
No.
Now, again, this is everybody saw it on the leaked papers from the acquisition
Yeah.
of Activision Blizzard. You all saw that there was a Fallout 3 remake. You all saw that there was an Oblivion that came out. So, the likelihood that they're going to do that, and there's so many rumors that it's going to be shadow dropped right at the end of the season 2 of the TV series, for the fact that they need something to appease this fandom and make some money. I think that's now out of the blue, which I think you're going to hear. Out of the blue, now I'm hearing this big rumbling of not only is it going to be Fallout 3.
I want to get into that with this
Okay.
new article about a Steam glitch, but I don't know if you've been looking at the screen sharing of all the concurrent players that have been on each individual Fallout title. People are. It hasn't gone below 19,000 or 20,000 for 24-hour peaks for Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, and 76. So you are right. The want is there for Fallout because the TV show has definitely injected some steroids into the franchise. But yeah, so you hearing about the 3 in New Vegas, I want to pull into a thing of where this is kind of coming from. This is an article from PC Gamer written by Joshua Wolins. A Steam glitch has convinced some Fallout fans a New Vegas remaster and Fallout 3 remaster was imminent, only to have the rug yanked out from under them. This is slowly turning into r/Half-Life on the Reddits. The article states 2 things I believe to be true. 1, given the success of last year's Oblivion remaster, remasters of Fallout 3 and New Vegas are all but assured. 2, they probably won't drop anytime soon. Oblivion is not even a year behind us, though given its last patch was in July, and Bethesda seems to have forgotten it exists, you'd be forgiven for feeling like it's been longer. And the studio is notionally working on new space gameplay for Starfield, and the Elder Scrolls 6 is bubbling away in there somewhere. Doesn't feel like a lot of space to launch a humdinger of a Fallout remaster is the author's point. But fans of those games are quite keen on the notion of prettied up versions, and a recent Steam glitch had a few of them ready to declare that the prophecy would soon be fulfilled. Fans over on Reddit have noticed something hinking going on with Fallout 3 and New Vegas over on Steam. Namely, the fact that if you try to leave a user review for either of those games at the moment, you'll be blocked from doing so. And it gets a big block of red text that says you must wait until this product has been released before writing a review for it. As a veteran journalist and video game expert, I can confirm that Fallout 3 and New Vegas are both released games. They've been released for yonks for years even. And yet Steam seems to have gotten mixed up on that front. Quite recently, too, there are reviews for New Vegas from as recently as yesterday. And what's this? Search for Fallout on Steam and the platform will tell you there are 12 games in the series, yet only 10 are listed when you click through. So essentially, there was that whole Steam glitch that has been happening, but it's looking here for the Fallout search showing 12 games. It's hard to say what's causing that, but the author bets it has something to do with region-specific packages available for New Vegas. For me, and probably you, the listing Steam shows us when checking out the New Vegas pages for that game's global version, but if you're in the Commonwealth of Independent States, you'll get a region-specific PCR version. Either ways, there's a lot of smoke, not a lot of fire at the moment. However, what do you think of this glitch? You go off.
let me go back. This happened once before with Steam that ended up being true, and I can't remember what it was. Same scenario where they couldn't go write reviews on it, and it was a weird glitch that made it leak. There was something that happened, and it ended up being true. Mm-hmm. And I forget which one it was. But again, here's where some logic needs to be thrown out. This is where my business mind comes in. You're Microsoft, okay? You spent, when you look at the $8.1 billion that they spent on Bethesda, they're looking at the same numbers you just showed from Steam of concurrent players. Do you think that Microsoft's going to sit back and say, Well, you guys are the creatives. You want to get Elder Scrolls 6 out there. Go ahead. Or do you think there's a point where they start strong arming and looking at the papers and saying, look, I love Elder Scrolls 6, but at the end of the day, we got to strike when the iron's hot. I spent $8.1 billion on your company. Elder Scrolls is going to get pushed back. We got to capitalize off of the Fallout hype right now. Now, you think that that's not a reality? You're crazy.
Well, I do think it might be a similar situation with what they did with Oblivion, which is it's just outsourced. I think that's the most realistic option. Is that Bethesda game?
The remakes.
Yes,
I don't think they're outsourcing 5.
No, and I don't think they're working on Fallout 5. Not at the moment. I think Elder Scrolls 6 is their full production because while you say this, yes, you got to remember it's Bethesda Game Studios, it's Todd Howard. I think they have a lot of sway with what the projects they work on. And Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a moneymaker at the end of the day. There's no question about that because even though we just went through the exercise of showing all the Fallout concurrent players on Steam as it stands, let's take a look at Skyrim. Skyrim is currently sitting at a 24-hour peak of 37,638 people. So, and let's look at Oblivion Remastered.
Did you bring it up on screen? I didn't see it.
No, I did not. Yeah. And Oblivion was 3,000 people, but the all-time peak was 216,000 as of 9 months ago, whereas the Fallout's all-time peak as about 9 months ago was sitting around the 50s to the 60s. Elder Scrolls is hot. Oblivion was one of the best-selling titles of 2025 when it came out as well. So the clamor for Elder Scrolls is also there. So now you're in the pickle of you're right. The iron is hot with Fallout because of the television series. How do you strike with that? And I think it's these long rumored remasters that will probably do the trick. And I think Bethesda is going to continue along the route with making Elder Scrolls 6. Bombay says, how many of those Skyrim players are only doing it to mod Shrek to it? Probably a little bit of that, a little bit of Randy Savage as a dragon or, Sonic running around. But Skyrim mods, also the mods is what makes a lot of these games have such longevity because usually when people are done with a single player RPG, they're done. Bethesda games have long span incredible mods. The modding community is always incredible. But which go for it, because I also want to lead another thing that Bethesda is supposedly working on as well, which we
you're saying about the mods. That's where I was going to step in as a shameless plug. If you are a Fallout fan and you have not played Fallout London, definitely give that a try. I downloaded it when it first launched, and then I remember Bethesda did an update that broke it. Took a little bit to fix it. I got to get back and play it, but I played, a few hours of it, and it's outstanding. So it goes again to show you how well somebody else could do it. Because at first I thought, is Todd Howard the secret sauce in all of this? But Obsidian proved that wrong, And then I see something that's fan based of Fallout London, which looks like a Bethesda plays. You would swear Bethesda made it. So again, I used to think that Todd Howard was a secret sauce, but I think a good studio can take. And again, the Oblivion remake. I mean, I know it was a remake, but they did update stuff, and it was outstanding.
Yeah, but we're saying about Bethesda working on what should they be working on? Iron Strike, whatever. This article comes from December 29th. It was right before the new year, and this is from Gaming Bible and is written by Kate Harold. It may feel as if Starfield has been abandoned, but that's not at all the case. The game's second expansion has been confirmed, although you'd be forgiven for not realizing. Earlier this year, Bethesda celebrated the 2-year anniversary of Starfield by dropping a celebratory video. That video glitched, revealing the message Terran Armada. Whether that links to the game's Terran's Preservation Society, I don't know. It's impossible to say whether this is the title of the second expansion following on from Shattered Space or simply a clue to its story, but it's nice to know that Starfield hasn't totally been swept aside. Despite the mixed response, the author found it to be a fun game and worth playing. By all accounts, it looks as if there's more on the way beyond the expansion, which I'll stress Bethesda is yet to comment on outside of the initial glitching teaser. There has been whispers from insiders and content creators of launch of Starfield 2.0. Essentially, the belief is this game has undergone such an extensive change that is going to have its Cyberpunk 2077 moment, which is going to completely reinvent Starfield. Obviously, it's hard to say whether or not this is accurate, and the author says take this rumor with a pinch of salt. But I have seen a lot of content creators state that there was a Starfield 2.0 event that they went to, and it was behind closed doors. There's been this behind closed doors Starfield event that people have been going to. And obviously, with Microsoft's strategy, Starfield's bound to go to PlayStation 5 at some point. It's not there yet, but they've been all of the Xbox titles have had this kind of anniversary update, to say the least. We just saw that announced with Avowed, that Avowed's PS5 version is coming with an anniversary edition, which adds a whole bunch of quality of life changes, new game plus. We saw it with Hellblade 2. It got the 60 frames mode, so on. And Indiana Jones as well. Starfield is still on the horizon for the PlayStation user base. So now with this whole Starfield 2.0 lingering, I want to pass it to you. Like, as we stated, Starfield really didn't get the reception that they were hoping for. Do you think this is going to move the needle, or do you think they should focus on other things at this point? Because I liked Starfield for what it was. How did you feel about Starfield?
I thought it was good, but if you're asking me, would I have taken a Fallout 5 or a Skyrim 6 or an Elder Scrolls 6? Yes, I would have taken that way over Skyrim. I played through it. I thought it was okay. I would rather, a medieval or an apocalyptic any day over, the space. It's just my preference. I thought it was a good game. I don't think it was great. I didn't go play Shattered Space,
I didn't play Shattered Space either.
They said that it cut down on load screens and made things a little bit better, made, planets a little bit better. It's that I equate it to the No Man's Sky syndrome, where they made it a little bit better, but I wouldn't play the 2.0. I think that they should just, it is what it is. I can't imagine. I don't hear any chatter whatsoever. Even after Shattered Space, I didn't hear any chatter about, Starfield's back up on top, or Starfield's this. I think it was a good game. Let it go, move on, work on the things that people want. That's the end. That's the end game here.
Yeah. Now, I wonder if, though, I want to loop it back to Bombay's earlier comment about Elder Scrolls 6 becoming Starfield. I want to do the reverse of it. I wonder if Starfield 2.0 is going to be the testing grounds for their engine to see if they can do Elder Scrolls 6. Like, what happens if the Starfield 2.0 is such a if it is such a shakeup that insiders and people are expecting it to be a Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 moment? Could they be drastically changing the creation engine or updating it immensely in order to prep for the Elder Scrolls 6? Because I think if we're looking at the wide picture now with everything that we've talked about, it seems like Bethesda Game Studios is a little confused at the moment of what they want to do. And it seems like with Elder Scrolls 6, they don't want to have, they're trying to delay the inevitable, what it seems like, if they were to stick on the current course of what they did with Starfield, which is, and this is a fact, if Elder Scrolls 6 came out today and it was only good as Skyrim, that game would be cannibalized. Because I think people have this idea of what Elder Scrolls 6 could be. And given the accounts of what the lore master said, given the accounts of this whole Starfield 2.0, and that how Starfield even was received by hardcore Bethesda fans, they need to shake something up. And it seems like they are delaying it as much as possible in order to get to a point that might be good for Elder Scrolls 6, because there's a lot of expectations for this game.
That's a good theory, that the Starfield 2.0 is going to be the testing grounds for the new engine. I can see that, because you're right. They have to hit this out of the park. It can't come out and be another Starfield. They had such high hopes for Starfield, and it came out and it was clunky, and you know, can't be another 76 where it came out. If I remember, 76 didn't even have NPCs in it when it came out.
No.
So again, I think they had two, and they're good.
I was gonna say, I think we can even. I really enjoyed Fallout 4, but you talked about earlier how every Fallout has felt different, and I think a lot of Fallout fans kind of scoffed at Fallout 4 a little bit. I don't think it's a great game. I think you think it's a great game, but when you look at the DNA of Fallout 4 really changed the
Well,
landscape of what Fallout was.
here's the thing with Fallout, just to kind of sidebar here. Every Fallout was totally different. Fallout 3 was more when it came out. If you even go back to the Fallout 1s and 2s, they were turn based, they were top down. Fallout 3, when Bethesda got it, that was more exploration and atmosphere. That's what that was about. And then when they went to Fallout Vegas, I know it wasn't Bethesda, Obsidian doing it. That was more based on decision making and storytelling. And then you came out with Fallout 4 that was more action shooter, a lot less of an RPG, action shooter base builder. And then they came out with 76, which again was different. That was more MMO and more community based raids and online chat and more building there. So when you take a look at the four Bethesda, and I'm saying four Bethesda, I'm including Obsidian in there. When you take a look at it, they are traditionally four uniquely different games with all just similar Fallout titles. So when you look at Fallout 5, what is it going to be? Because each one of those games had their fans and had their haters. And I think that's when you hear that some people didn't like Fallout 4. I think that's kind of why you got to look at all four of them and see that they're all fan followers. And I'm intrigued what Fallout 5 is going to be.
I want to ask you, kind of looping back to all this, what we said before, if you were the decision maker at this point, I don't think Bethesda's moving off of Elder Scrolls 6. You just say, Obsidian, go. Your project is Fallout.
Well, yeah. Now, again, only rumor. I have heard that there's a rumor that it's not Fallout 5 and it's not the remakes. And it's not Shelter, because they are coming out with an update with Fallout Shelter. But I heard that there was somebody granted, only rumor. Somebody was granted, another studio was granted to do a spin-off. That's their words, not mine. A spin-off game of Fallout.
Yeah. I
mean, take that for what it's worth. Rumors are rumors.
But, if I were the decision maker, I would say Obsidian, just go hog wild, make Fallout.
It is 100% on record on interviews with Todd Howard that Todd Howard had a little, disdain towards Obsidian because when they made Fallout New Vegas, it got more fanfare than his Fallout 3. So that's on record. So I think that he had a little bit of, beef that he didn't want the Fallout sent out of his studio anymore because he didn't want anybody else to outshine him. So This is where you're asking me, business mind, because I own you, Microsoft coming in saying, look, you have to spin it out. You have to. And I can see where that rumor of a spinoff being truer than somebody else taking Fallout 5.
Yeah, because I just don't think from a franchise standpoint, you don't let Fallout sit until the 2030s for a new entry. Because as much as I would love the remasters, a remaster can only move the needle a little bit in terms of what is good for the franchise.
But circling back to your Steam thing and talking about New Vegas and Fallout 3 being remastered and shadow dropped, I can tell you, as much as I want that to happen, never would it ever happen that both of those are shadow dropped at the same time.
No, they're going to be separated
They have to be
100%.
separated.
That's just business 101. It would be stupid because if you look at the fandom and how the fandom talks about Fallout, there is clearly going to be one game that is bought way more than the other.
Sure.
And it's going to be
But
New Vegas. Like,
but I go back to the legal documents when they had on their Fallout 3 remake. I think Fallout 3 remake is going to be shadow dropped at the end of this series. Excuse me, that's the
I mean,
biggest rumor, and I
have
think
you
that's
been seeing the timer that Amazon put up on the site?
I have not.
Let me pull it up. Bombay says in the chat, a remaster of 3/New Vegas that dropped between season 1 and 2 of the show would have caused major stonks.
Yeah, they just won't. They will drop my opinion. They're going to shadow drop the Fallout 3 right after the season 2 of the TV show. Fallout Vegas will get remade. If it drops in 2026, I'd be shocked. I would say that would fall, in 2027.
Hang on, I'm pulling it up now. So Amazon has this Fallout website that has a whole bunch of different things. And there's this thing that is counting down right now when the season ends. It has 15 days and you can't click into it yet. But there's a whole bunch of other things that you can click into on this site. It gives you information and you can explore 3D locations from the show. Now, my hope, this is slight television spoilers, but not really. I hope by the end of season 2, they have to go to the Capitol Wasteland, go to Washington, D.C., and that's where it ends. And it'd be cool if that's how the Fallout 3 remaster gets dropped is, hey, the show ends, it's them going to the Capitol Wasteland, here's this thing. But yeah, it is weird that this timer is on this Fallout season 2 website. Could it be the game? The pessimist in me says no. I really don't think it's the game because I don't see Amazon doing it, but it'd be cool. It'd be a cool way of doing it. But yeah, I like how this map is super interactable.
That would be super dope if it ended up that they were going that way and then they dropped 3. Like that to me, the big thing I always liked about Marvel when Marvel started is all of their stuff tied together and they did it better than anybody in the history. That would be Marvel-esque if they did that.
Yeah.
That to me would be great because we know that the TV show is not off of any of the games, which I like. I think that's what makes the TV show outstanding. But to have it go into the Fallout 3 remaster game and then come back to season 3 with following either this story or part of the story of the TV would just be
and brilliant. Like I said, slight Fallout TV series spoilers, but season 1 took place in Los Angeles, and now season 2 they moved east. They're in New Vegas. So if you're looking at the games, what is the next big, most recognizable location from the mainline games? I would say it's the Capitol Wasteland over Boston from Fallout 4.
Sure.
So I would think if you're following the popular locations from the games, I would say the Capitol Wasteland makes the most sense. Bombay says maybe they drop it on Prime Gaming for free at that day. And that's the thing where the pessimist in me says I don't think it's going to be as large as we're thinking it's going to be in our heads. I think it's going to be something more like that, or maybe like a new merch drop or something that they can't reveal because it's an inherent spoiler for the season 2 finale. We'll see. But as we kind of get to the end of this episode, I want to loop everything back, which is like, just what are your thoughts about what's going on at Bethesda at the moment? And what if you were a decision maker, what are you doing here? Like, I want to hear what do you think about this? Is everything kind of all over the place, or do you think there is going to be a vision at the end of it all? And with the Elder Scrolls 6, do you wish that what the lore master said the game was going to be, which is this evil empire taking over and wins, and it was going to be a 2-part thing like Empire and to Return of the Jedi? Do you wish that was what the game was?
One, I'll just start with that. Yeah, that sounds like an incredible concept. So yes, I do. But I'm upset that there's this much turmoil within Bethesda for the pure fact that we started this all off where, Bethesda slash Fallout is my second favorite franchise of all time. And, I am a Fallout head just as much as I'm a Gears head. And I don't like to see the turmoil in there. So, but this is where Microsoft, being the parent company, has to step in and right the ship quickly because they have probably two of the top 15 biggest IPs right now. Top 15, top 20, somewhere in there.
What are you saying? Fallout and Elder Scrolls?
And Elder Scrolls, yeah. So they have to right the ship. And again, I'm a businessman. You can't have $8.1 billion at the end of the day and have internal, strife and not get things done. But if you're asking me that, hey, you're going to wave the wand and I'm in charge, Elder Scrolls would be pushed back real quick, and that would get shelved, and you'd get as many people as you can, and I'd force Todd Howard to work with Obsidian or anybody else. I don't care. Pull in the coalition, pull in whatever to get the next Fallout out there because, again, I'm a business person. Now is the time. Fallout's never been at a higher hype level than it is right now. And business 101, you strike when the iron's hot. So if I wave my wand and you ask me, that's what I would be doing. As much as I'm waiting for, I would like to play the Elder Scrolls 6. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm hating on that. It's just that you're asking me.
Hater alert.
Nope. I'm a business person. And you got to strike. You can't wait till it cools down. Then you lose money. And when you lose money, then your favorite franchise doesn't get made as much, or less stuff gets made, or spin-offs, or more TV series, or, you just keep going. Doesn't get pushed to the front because money is what drives your favorite fandom. That's the bottom line. They're not going to make fandom stuff for stuff that doesn't sell. If you're a Perfect Dark Zero fan, I'm sorry. Just not going to happen. You're not going to see a TV show. You're not going to see the next game for a long time. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, look at God of War just getting greenlit with what's his name for the actor. Again, fandom and money drives fandom. That's the bottom line economics that you can get to it. So that's why I'm saying if I was Microsoft, I'd say shelf Elder Scrolls 6 and get as many Fallout products as you can out there.
Bombay in the chat asked, do you think we get an Elder Scrolls TV show? And I want to quickly pull in this one article that was written by Blair Marnell from GameSpot, which is Elder Scrolls TV series is possible, says Todd Howard. In the article, it just quickly states that Todd Howard says, I think the impact of the show on Fallout as a franchise has been bigger than I expected. And so it does make you think like, hey, is there a path? But nothing today. I'm willing to say no for a decade. And he also stated that he feels Fallout is a more suitable IP for an adaptation because it has more to say in the genre, but he's not ruling out an Elder Scrolls TV show as of now. And there was reports back in 2020 that Netflix was potentially eyeing up a massive budget Elder Scrolls series to be the same scale as the Witcher series.
Well, to me, this is a sidebar, and I just want to go back to one thing about the business of Fallout. As a sidebar, here's the reality. I think the next evolution of TV and movies, they're going to video game sources, just like they did comics as the source and so forth. And before that was books, they were doing more source and moving up. I think video games, I think we're in a very good position for future quality programming for a game source. But back to the Elder Scrolls versus Fallout when it comes to business. I just walked through Target the other day, and they had entire shelves of Fallout stuff, mugs. I told you I bought the controller holder with the power armor. They have everything out right now. Again, That's the economics of it. That's the business of it. It is hotter than the Elder Scrolls is right now. That's why you shelf the Elder Scrolls and you put every resource you have. Like I said, force Todd Howard to work close with
I,
Obsidian,
I,
whatever.
I don't think you shelf Elder Scrolls. I think you need a parallel pipeline where there's two teams running at the same time and you pass it off to Obsidian or another studio internally. Like you still have Bethesda make Elder Scrolls 6 because of how massive Oblivion remaster was, but you need parallel at this point. You can't just let studio focus on one game at a time.
Here's where I agree, but there's something that you and I both would never probably know is Todd Howard, for whatever the agreement was with Microsoft and Bethesda, Todd Howard has not given up control of Fallout or Elder Scrolls. So we don't know what that agreement is. And that's where I'm saying
I will say just to piggyback off that is we saw that he at least gave up some of it with Oblivion Remastered. And if this Fallout 3 Remastered and Vegas Remaster is true, he is giving up some of it. And I think we're about to see what the next stage of Bethesda games is going to look like.
Sure. He gave that up for Fallout New Vegas, which that was before Microsoft.
Yeah.
So, but my point being is I agree with you. If you can have it run in tandem, that you're making both. There's no doubt. But I just feel, excuse me, given the history of what's going on, Todd Howard has some weird, written in the contract of control that this should have been pushed back in 2001 when Microsoft purchased them. That's my only thing is there's something weird there that he doesn't want to give up the control because that should have been done the minute that Microsoft plopped down $8.1 billion for him.
Yeah.
But if I had my druthers, yes. Hey, have them working in tandem. That's great. But I just, for some reason, historically looking at it,
I just want to point out that we want to make sure we have our facts straight. At least publicly, Todd Howard has never said he doesn't like New Vegas. He says he actually thinks they did an incredible job. And the rumor that he hates New Vegas is a persistent misconception among some fans, often stemming from the game's deep RPG mechanics contrasting with Bethesda's broader design choices. But Todd Howard has clarified it's healthy for fans to have different favorites.
I think that came out after the fact that he was getting all the flack from it.
But either ways, right now, there is zero evidence that Todd Howard hates New Vegas. But all that being said, I just want to ask one quick question before we wrap this up. What is your Fallout 3 remaster / New Vegas remastered wish list? What do you want them to see to do it? Do you want them to go the Oblivion route where it's still the same core logic, just a little bit prettier and updated gameplay? Or do you think they should rewrite some of the core logic and potentially update the fun bugs of Fallout?
Well, even the Oblivion remaster had bugs, so they didn't get out of it.
Well, that's because they used the same core skeleton that was already for Oblivion. They didn't update any of that. They just used Unreal Engine layered on top of it to pretty it up.
And I would be fine with that because I thought Oblivion remaster was outstanding. So I would be fine with them. I told you I went back and tried to play Fallout 3. It's tough. I think they need to pretty it up, get rid of that green hue, get the mechanics a little bit better, and I would be fine with it. I'd be happy. If that's what it means to shadow drop it after this season 2 of the series, I'm fine with it. If you say to me that, hey, that's a farce, it's not going to come out for another year because they're redoing it, then I'd say don't redo it. Like, I need the Fallout remaster now is basically the bottom line of what I'm looking for.
Well, it might be sooner rather than later at this point because it seems like with all these Steam glitches and, rumors, it seems like it's on the horizon. Bombay says just let the people play it on new systems with better visuals.
Exactly, and I'm fine with it. You know what? It's Bethesda. There's always going to be glitches. You're never going to get rid of the glitches, and I think there's some of them are charming. If I fall through an asset in a game once in a while, who cares? Who cares? It's not like the game's bad because you fell through an asset. Now, I get, or I die on my body, rubber bands and flops and stuff like that. Okay, that happens. As long as it's not impeding the gameplay, I'm fine with a couple glitches here and there, especially when they put out something the size of a sandbox MMO game like that, whether it be 76, whether it be Fallout 4, give them a little bit of a break.
Yeah. But that's it. That's what we can pull out from all these articles right now about what's going on at Bethesda. There's a lot of stuff, very interesting stuff. And, I hope at the end of the day, Elder Scrolls 6 meets our expectations or is just a very good game at the end of the day. I hope they do what they need to do. I hope all the Fallout, whatever is good at the end of the day, and so on. I see a lot of people watching. So welcome to each and every one of you. I hope you enjoyed what you saw.
I wanted to say that especially for the people watching, we do a news show on Fridays, and this was a big debate between Kobe and I that do we keep this and just put it in our news show on Friday? And we debated over it that this needed more than just, a 5 or 10 minute blurb on our news show. And that's why we decided to do a whole podcast, our Monday podcast on the Bethesda, because there was a lot to uncover here. If it was just Fallout or if it was just Elder Scrolls, it would be different. But when you have the Starfield, the Elder Scrolls, the Fallouts, this needed some dedication to an entire. So definitely tune in to our this Friday show. It's going to be a good one.
At 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, we'll be live with this week's gaming news that we think you should know about. To all those who joined,
do you want to pull up the socials with everybody that's watching?
That's what I was going to do, and you interrupted me. You just ruined my flow. Either way, to all those watching, thank you for joining. If you want to follow us, you can follow us right here on all of our socials on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Spotify. We're at Active Reload Gaming. With Twitch, Twitter, or X, we're at ActiveRel. That's with an REL, ActiveRel Gaming. You can find us there. Like I said, we hope that you enjoyed what you saw, and tune in this Friday for a news show where we're going to break down this week's gaming news that we found pretty important. All that being said, I wish each and every one of you a great rest of your week. Have a great one. Have a great rest of your Monday. And we will see you all next time. See you later.